Alright, so let's get started. This is going to be broken up into a couple parts, I think, because I don't think I have time to finish all of it today. We'll see how it goes. But in this video, I'm going to teach you guys everything I can remember off the cuff about Wang. So first I'm going to start with general intro, punishment, throws, and stances. He only has a crouch dash, so it should be pretty quick. As far as okay, let's start with an intro. So, if you pick this character up, you might find that he's really peculiar. The first thing you're going to notice is that he doesn't have a traditional 1-2 or 2-1 type of a string where it's a double jab. That can feel kind of frustrating. Let me turn my phone's volume down so I don't have any interruptions. Okay, so initially you're going to notice that there isn't a 1-2 for this character. He only has a 1, a 1-1, or a 1-4, or a 2-3. These are all like his 10-frame options. Now, I'll get into punishment later, but that can be frustrating for some people because a lot of people use 1-2s or 2-1 types of jabs to buy themselves time when they don't know what to do. So if you're used to that style of play where you're like, oh shit, I don't know what to do, let me throw out a 1-2 or 2-1 just to buy myself a couple of seconds to regain composure, you might struggle at first. But actually, initially it may seem like a weakness, but his single jab is actually really cheap, one of the best in the game. And it's because of what's tied to it. So basically this style of character, in my opinion at least, he's a counter hit character, of course. He excels at opening opponents up with 50-50s because you can get in their face and crouch. And crouching always represents the bow and arrow, which is that move, full crouch down forward 4-3. And it knocks down and gives good wake-ups. So it's dangerous enough for the opponent to not want to get hit by it. Other characters that have lows from crouch, unless it's a knockdown low, like let's say Yoshi, right? Yoshi has a full crouch foot sweep, but the reason his full crouch game is shitty in this game is because the foot sweep doesn't actually knock down. So when he crouches in your face, only a shitty player who is not confident in their defense is going to duck. And that's because if you are well educated against Yoshi, you know that he doesn't have anything that's low from crouch that really is worthy of ducking for compared to his mids. While Wang, he has this powerful knockdown low that does decent damage and leads to wake-ups, and he also has the dreaded hop kick. Now, so that's one speciality that Wang has. He can open you up by crouching in your face and representing a 50-50. Now, there are other branches to that, which I'll get into later, but I'm just going to get into the general overview. Now, another good thing about Wang is his backdash and his general stance. Now, I picked this stage because it's relatively large and it has, walls. But you can't really see it. His feet, his stance, actually his toe on his left foot sticks out a lot. And what this does is it makes it so that his backdash is not as strong against lows as it is against mids and highs. You can see that by the way he's standing. Even though it looks like his backdash isn't that huge, and in a lot of tier lists where they categorize backdash, speeds and durations, he's listed not very high. And honestly, I don't know what methods people use to do backdash tier lists in these games, but I don't know. I always felt like Wang's backdash is larger than most characters in the game. And it will evade more things than, than say Dragunov. I feel like, look at the way Dragunov's standing. You can see that his hands up top are obviously sticking out further than his middle section. So generally speaking, I mean, you can just use, since this game doesn't have like active hitboxes the way Street Fighter does, it's more about 3D character models and collision detection. So it really matters where your limbs are. And in the case of Wang, you can see that his limbs are very low and his head is very far back, especially during the backdash animation. So to make a long story short, this character is really great at backdash with punishing and also just turtling in general. Keep out with forward one and turtling. He's a great turtle defensive character. he has this very unique parry, which parries almost everything. It parries everything that's mid and high, elbows, heads, knees, shoulders, tag crashes. It parries everything but throws. It does not parry generic down ones. I don't know why. There are a couple rare, very rare moves that it does not parry, but generally speaking, it parries a ton of shit. So it's a very, very unique and scary, dangerous move for this character. So if you combine these things that I've said so far, you have a character that has really great backwards movement and very solid whiff punishment. He has a death fist, of course, for long range whiff punishment. He has down forward 2-1, which I think is his best whiff punisher, which is tag bufferable, and I'll get into that later. I mentioned earlier that he feels peculiar at first, and one of the most peculiar things about the character is, even though he's a poke character, he lacks a down forward 1. So other characters have a down forward 1 that they can poke with and move around. You know, if you block it, they could sidestep, you know, that kind of thing. But Wang, his down forward 1 is like a just totally different move. Down forward 1-1 is a delayable bound move. So he doesn't have that type of poke down forward 1 that, you know, you expect from poke heavy characters like him. So like I mentioned earlier, he's gonna feel frustrating at first, but once you get the hang of the character and you don't actually play him the way you play other characters, because you'll find that in Tekken, if you get a really good player, they can just pick most characters. And like, look at Help Me. Help Me is just a solid player. He has a solid play style. He does the whole spacing, backdash, whiff punish type of a style, and he can basically play every character in the game with that style. But when he plays Wang, he has to like alter it a little bit, because you can't, his style really revolves around down forward 1 pokes when he plays every other character. But Wang, you have to be a little bit more patient. You have to duck in their face to represent the mix-up, and you have to be more deliberate with your jabs. I mean, it's the only way to play the character. But once you get around all that, you'll notice that this character is actually really, really strong. And though I don't think he's like a top tier character, I think that he's an extremely dangerous character. And if you don't pay close attention to him, since he's so underused, you can easily lose a tournament match against him, and it will be very quick. Like, you can't sleep on Wang. He's extremely dangerous and very high damage if played correctly. He's also really strong with rage, and you know, he's a really good character overall, I think. Very underused. I can't say underrated. I still think he's like middle tier, even though he has some unique shit that other characters don't have, like his neutralizer parry. I still think he's relatively, he doesn't work that well with a lot of teams. That's his biggest problem. Like he does really well with Jinpachi and Ling and a couple other characters, but he doesn't really fit that well with that many characters in the game. But that doesn't mean he doesn't fit at all. There are some characters that he works relatively well with. I play him with Dragunov, and personally I don't think this is a very good team overall, but it's a decent team, and you can you know, you can maximize on what you got. Yeah, I'm a believer that in this game, you don't have to pick a team that the game thinks is good. You should more, it's better for you to pick a team that you are better with. So 2 characters that you're better with will be better than 2 characters that, one that you're good with and one that you're shitty with, but the team itself has good synergy. I think it's better for you to pick 2 characters that you're better with, and that's what I ended up doing, and I've seen much better success over in the long run. So let's see. Getting started with his punishment. His punishment is probably his weakest category, and I'll explain why right now. For 10-frame punishers, and in this punishment section, I'm going to just go over the moves themselves as well, in the context of punishment, as well as just the move in general. So, for 10-frame punishment, he has 1-4. This is his best 10-frame punisher. First of all, before we even talk about his standing jab, you never ever want to just do standing jab. You always want to do a lead jab with him, which means forward +1. It's not listed in any command lists that way. It's not listed in any punishment lists that way, but it should be, because there is no reason to not do forward 1 with this character. The difference in animation is huge. A move like King's 1+2/2. I don't know if you guys are familiar with what move that is, but it's a mid wall splatting move, and it's -13. If you do not do a lead jab, you cannot punish that move with Wang. So lead jab every time, absolutely important, extremely important. So no matter what, lead jab when you do your punishment, and forward 1-4 is his best 10 frame punisher. Now he also has forward 1-1. It's not as good, it's less frames on hit, and it's still a natural combo, but the second hit is not as like beefy as the first hit. So as far as punishment, you're gonna want to go with forward 1-4 definitely. Another good thing about forward 1-4 is if you feel like you want to try to get some damage for the kill, but you don't want to commit to anything that's high, you can. I'm sorry, that's I don't know why I said high. Interesting. But if you don't want to commit to something that's just a single jab, like in case it whiffs, in case he's moving around, forward 1-4 has really good coverage. I don't know why, but it covers pretty well. I think it's the spacing between the hits or something, but it's a really good string to just throw out. Now, initially when I first started playing the character, people were telling me that I should use 2-3. I think 2-3 fucking sucks. I think this move is like almost useless. There are a few rare scenarios where it's useful, but the range on 2-3 is worse than forward 1. The damage I think is a little bit more. Yeah, it's 3 points more, but you get less frame advantage, so it's not as useful in that regard. 3 points of damage is not as valuable as 5 frames of advantage, in my opinion. So it's not good for that. Now, as a poke, people were trying to tell me that this move is good to throw out because the second hit is mid, but again, I think it's totally useless. It has no tracking, even though it had tracking in previous games. I've been sidestepped and punished countless times. I think this move is not useful. So other Wang players may disagree with me on this, but I think 2-3 is not a useful move. I cut it out. See, I didn't mention this in the intro, but I feel like Wang is a less is more style character. The less you use with this character, the better you'll do, because you have to pick the moves that are extremely useful. So generally speaking, if you're going to use a 10 frame punish or a 10 frame move, I would use a single jab or forward 1-4 if you need something that's more than one hit, or if you need a punish. And if you just are going to do a panic punish, which happens, you know, like someone does a hop kick, you didn't expect a hop kick or whatever, 1-1 is your way to go. I mean, between 1-1 and 1-4, I think they pretty much eliminate 2-3 as a 10 frame punish, in my opinion. And moving on with 1-1, of course, 1-1 is a part of one of the best 10 frame counter hit combos in the game. The reason it's extremely good is because you can counter hit confirm this. So you throw out 1-1, you see that it counter hit, and then you hit 1+2. It's very sorry, 1-1-2. It's not 1+2. It's 1-1-2. You can hit confirm it, does a ton of damage, it wall splats, it's really good. And I think that it's really important to remember it, because especially at the walls. And you guys know me, I'm a dead button user. So every time I do 1-1, I do a fake dead button. So I always do 1-1-1. 1-1-1. No matter what, even if it's blocked, I always do 1-1-1. And then if it counter hit, I do 1-1-2. And then every now and then, if you're going to be a sneaky, at the end of a round or at the last round of a tournament match, since you've trained him with 1-1-1 the whole time, sometimes you can do 1-1-2 on block, and they're going to swing because they got used to hearing that sound but not attacking. They're going to get tired of that shit. So they're going to swing, and you're going to get them with a counter hit 1-1-2, and they're going to hit the wall, and they're going to be super fucking pissed. So, that basically covers his 10 frame punishers. For 11 frame, he doesn't have shit. 12 frame does not have shit. So you're still going to be using forward 1-4. 13 frame, again, does not have anything. And I think at this point, you're starting to realize why his punishment is so weak. All the way up to 14 frames, his only punisher is forward 1-4. So 28 points damage, very unimpressive. His 14 frame punisher is standing 3. Now that's only 33 damage, but it scores a knockdown. Now the problem with this move is it has like really whack range. It doesn't move forward at all, and it can be relatively risky. So because it's slow and you know it's not that great. But you do have to remember it. There are cases where you block something near the wall, and it is 14th frame, so it does give you a knockdown. It's decent. It's better than nothing. Next up after that, I mean, there's almost nothing to talk about with that move. It's just a 14 frame knockdown that wall splats. For 15 frames, he has the dreaded hop kick. Now, this hop kick is, in my opinion, one of the best hop kicks in the game. The reason it's one of the best hop kicks in the game, first of all, is because it sparks on normal hit, which means it does extra damage. 27 points damage is very high for a hop kick. If you look at Bruce or King or Armor King or Lei or any one of these characters, they have under 20 damage for their hop kick. So 27 damage is actually very high. Now because of that 27 damage, you can easily do over 90 points damage with a hop kick. So if you think about that, that's actually really rare. Over 90 points damage is actually really easily doable if you're launching with a 27 damage launcher. So it depends on what type of player you are. If you put a lot of weight into block punishment, if you're really mathematical, like like MYK. MYK is one of those players where if he blocks something minus 14 and doesn't do the 14 frame punish, he's shaking his head. He's like, fuck, I missed that punish. While I don't expect myself, I'm old. I don't expect myself to land all the 14 frame, 13 frame punishes. So I focus more on landing that hop kick. I mean, this is one of the most important moves with this character. Not only for a 15 frame punish that you can also do from crouch, but also just it's your main mid. And that's the funny thing. With this character, he doesn't really have that many good mids. I mean, what I always use is down forward 4 and hop kick. The rest of it is just spacing. You just want to space and jab, and then boom, at the right time, hop kick. The other mid that's really worth using is up forward 3, and I'll get to that later. But generally speaking, hop kick is really fucking good with this character. It also has really cheap tracking to both sides. So usually hop kicks will track to one side, if at all. But this hop kick has a cone-shaped hitbox in front of it, so it will track. It's really dangerous. Really, really good hop kick. I can't stress that enough. So that's his 15 frame punisher, and then his 16 frame punisher is down forward 2-1. So if something is minus 16, down forward 2-1 is the way to go. This move is absolutely one of Wang's most important moves. I think it's his primary whiff punisher. If you're spacing around and they whiff something, boom, down forward 2-1. It's extremely good. Lots of damage. Tag bufferable. Really important. You could do way more damage than that too. You could wall carry and all kinds of stuff. Lots of options from down forward 2-1. Now, another unique thing about down forward 2-1 I think I should mention is, so if you look at the move, the second hit of the move looks like it might not hit every time. However, this move has a unique property. The first hit, if you do both hits, so you do the first hit alone, it doesn't do anything. But if you do the first 2 hits, as you can see when you're close up, the opponent's character enters this animation that's like very unique to this move. Now what that animation means is that they're going to be hit by the second hit of this move no matter what. Doesn't matter what angle they were at, doesn't matter what happens, they're going to get hit by this. Now if you hit this move on shallow, let me see if I can get it. Right there. That move hit on shallow, so Wang didn't do that same hit animation. However, it doesn't matter. He's still always 100% going to get hit by the second hit. The second hit of this is never going to whiff on almost every character in the game except for Jinpachi. Jinpachi is the only character that I've found in which it's possible for the second hit of this to whiff, even though the first hit. So against every other character, you don't have to really be worried. But against Jinpachi, you have to be careful when you hit with down forward 2 as a shallow hit. That's really important to remember. Other than that, you have to remember that if you launch with this move from back turn, you're going to have to modify your combo because it doesn't work the same way. And a lot of the time you'll sidestep or something and it won't be the same, same combo. You have to just modify it. So this move, extremely important. 16 frame Punisher, really good. And I can't stress enough how important the hop kick is. Again, from crouch, really important. Now, let's move on to his full crouch Punishers, which also are relatively underwhelming, but still a little better than his standing Punishers. So, for full crouch, at 10 frames, of course, he has a down 1. You're going to use that against mock kicks and stuff like that. For 11 frames, he has wall standing 4. In my opinion, this wall standing 4 is probably one of the worst in the game, if not the worst in the game. This wall standing 4 has extremely shitty range. It doesn't do anything special on hit. Not a lot of damage on hit. Not a lot of frames on hit. I think it's maybe plus 4 or 5. It does not track very well. It also has a really high hitbox. So if you block something like Law's Slidey, you can't float it with this. Even though it's not the right combo, it has a very very high hitbox. So wall standing 4, extremely shitty with this character. But when you block something that's minus 11, that's what you gotta do. So wall standing 4 for 11 frames. For 12 frames, he doesn't have anything. For 13 frames, he has a very good Punisher. Wall standing 1-1. Now that's 41 damage. You get a knockdown, and it's really, really good for a 13 frame punish, because there's a lot of lows in this game that are 13 frames on block, minus 13. It also wall splats, and the move itself is actually really good. So let's get into the move itself. I like to do this move out of crouch dash a lot. Because from crouch dash, I'll get into his crouch dash later, but you can, if you do this move while standing 1 out of crouch dash, it tracks really well. The second hit is not that necessary because it's unsafe, but if you want to do just approach and use a mid, and then, you know, just to feel him out, it's relatively safe, it has good range, and it tracks really well. Now on hit, while standing 1 is plus 9. That's really, really good. It opens up a lot of options, and it's just really important to remember, especially for approaching the opponent. Because, I mean, look at the range. You could be all the way over here and crouch dash in and make him block a mid, you know? So, and they're at plus 9 if it hits. So, it's really good. No, I noticed someone in the chat asked if this is a high crush. It's not a high crush at all. The crouch dash itself is a high crush, but once you hit the button, while standing 1 does not high crush. So yeah, 13 frame punish, wall splat, really good. Considering a character that has weak block punishment, this is one of the things that saves it. Let's see here. So for 15 frame punish, he doesn't have anything for 14 from crouch. For 15 frames, he has up forward 4, I mentioned. Really, really good hop kick. One of the best in the game. Good tracking, good range. You know, I think it's a great hop kick. For 16 frames, I mean, he has full crouch down forward 4-3, which, you know, it's not really a punish. It's just 16 frames, but I would still do a hop kick, obviously. And then that's about it. Basically, that's his punishment, which I know you're thinking is really shitty. And that is true, and that is the main reason that this character is considered mid-tier. If this character had better punishment, I mean, there would be no question that he would be at least, you know, in the top maybe 15 or 20, at least. I mean, he could be breaking top 10 if he had better punishment, depending on what that better punishment was, you know. So, let me get a drink of water real quick. Give me a second, amigos. Alright, so, or was I? I talked about punishment already, so let's go over stances real quick before I get into throws, and then I'll take a break. So, he doesn't have any stances. He does have crouch dash. Now, Wang's crouch dash is actually very unique. The reason is, most characters that have a crouch dash have a lot of moves out of crouch dash. However, Wang doesn't have any moves out of crouch dash other than Death Fist. Death Fist is the only move, that's crouch dash 2. Death Fist is the only move he has out of crouch dash that's only accessible from crouch dash. Crouch dash 1 is just crouch dash while standing 1. Crouch dash 3 is crouch dash into wall standing 3. Crouch dash 4 is wall standing 4. And crouch dash 1+2 is wall standing 1+2. So, Basically, crouch dash for Wang is just a tool to move around in. It's like a move around tool, and it's a tool to get in. It's a tool to do waning moons and shit, and that brings me to why his crouch dash is so unique. I don't know if it's because he doesn't have any moves out of crouch dash, but he can do things like crouch dash down forward 1. That's not very common. Like, if you try to do that with Dragunov, you're going to get a crouch dash 1. But Wang can do crouch dash down forward 1. Now, what that really means is that he could do crouch dash anything he wants. He could do crouch dash, you know, down forward 4. He could do crouch dash down forward 3. He could do crouch dash waning moon, which is down forward 2 plus 4. And that's why the waning moon works. His crouch dash is unique because you can cancel it into down forward or down back attacks. And that's really the key here. So if you consider that, then you remember Waning Moon. And Waning Moon is just really fucking cheap. It's the best throw in the game. Essentially, it's the best throw in the game, because it does so much damage if you successfully connect with it. Now, before we move on with this crouch dash, let's talk about his crouch dash 2. Crouch dash 2 is his Death Fist. It's his primary long range punisher. If you hit clean with it, it does extra damage. It's used for low wall hits and combos, but it is unsafe. You have to be careful when you use it, because on deep hit, it's like I think it's minus 15. I'm not sure. I forgot how bad it is on block, but yeah, I think it's minus 15. And it's a great whiff punisher if you're not in range for down forward 2-1. Now, I didn't mention earlier when I was talking about down forward 2 as a whiff punisher, but down forward 2-1 is really, really unsafe. So you have to train yourself to be really good at the delay catch with this move. You have to familiarize yourself with the range of it. You have to be extremely careful when using it. You'll see, like, a lot of the time, someone will whiff. If you're watching my matches, a lot of the time, someone will whiff, and I'll do a down forward 2, but it'll hit, but I didn't do down forward 2-1. That's because I'm really conservative with this move, and I only finish it when it's like 100% for sure. This guy whiffed, and I'm going to get a launcher, because it's really negative on block, and you're going to be punished heavily, especially because it's a 2-hit move. Usually, even the shittiest opponent can punish a 2-hit move very easily. 1-hit moves like this are hard to punish, but 2-hit moves are very, very easy to punish. So you have to be extremely careful when you use that. Now, if you're not in range for down forward 2-1, Death Fist is the way to go. Death Fist, I think, can come out in 15 frames, actually. So that, in a sense, does make it a 15-frame punisher. Also, you know, I should mention, I think forward 2-2 is a 15 or 16-frame punisher as well. So that's something to remember, too. I think forward 2-2 is the way you're supposed to punish laws while standing 2. And I think, you know, I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. I forgot how to punish laws while standing 2. But forward 2-2 is an option. It covers some space, and it is a punish, but it's just underwhelming in terms of damage. Now, Death Fist, really good punisher. Again, I said on clean hit, it's gonna do extra damage, and the clean hit can work in combos, as I mentioned, but you got to be careful with that. Forward 2-2 is almost hit confirmable, not quite, and I'll cover it more when I talk about the move itself. It's not really hit confirmable. It's more like you can see if the opponent didn't block, or if they were in the middle of an animation, and then you can complete it. But you can't delay it and allow it to be hit confirmable, as you could see right there. Let's see, moving on. So we were talking about his crouch dash. Now, his crouch dash is unique because you could do crouch dash into down back 3 like that. You can approach, basically you can approach the enemy with a crouch dash, and they can't, usually the opponent, if they see a crouch dash, they can narrow down what you're going to do out of the crouch dash to one of like 5 or 6 options. But Wang has so many options: up forward 3, up forward 4, down forward 3, down back 3. These are all great options. Down 4-1. I mean, while standing 1, while standing 3-2. All of these options are really, really good. You can crouch dash into full crouch down forward 4-3. You could crouch dash into full crouch down forward 2. I mean, basically the reason Wang's crouch dash is so good is because Wang's crouch dash actually threatens the opponent, while other characters' crouch dashes, like Dragunov, for example, if I crouch dash at the opponent, they can either expect crouch dash 1, crouch dash 2, crouch dash 3, and crouch dash 4. They're not going to be threatened by, or obviously crouch dash 1 plus 2. They're not going to be threatened by a million moves. But Wang, he has a ton of options, so the opponent can't narrow it down. And what that means is you're going to cause more hesitation with Wang's crouch dash, if placed correctly, than most other characters' crouch dashes. Because, again, they can't narrow down what's going to happen. They have to treat it like, I don't know what's going to happen. The opponent is just moving closer and threatening me, but I don't know what to think. You know what I mean? So for that reason, I think Wang's crouch dash is really important. I think his snake dash is really important. The way you do his snake dash in this game, I'm better at it on two-player side, so I'll show you guys what it looks like on two-player side. A snake dash is basically this. It's a crouch dash canceled by an up input and then neutral into another crouch dash. Perhaps someday I'll do a tutorial on how to do this, but I'm not going to get into this right now. It has a lot to do with how you hold the stick in your hand, but you can imagine, so let's say I'm moving, I'm spacing, and the opponent does something where, you know, I have the opportunity to crouch dash in. If you do this shit in their face, they're going to just poop their pants, basically. It's really, really dangerous for Wang. It's really intimidating. I wouldn't say, you know, like some people say, oh, snake dash mix-ups. The best thing to do out of snake dash. A snake dash is essentially the same shit as a crouch dash. You're just doing it over and over again. So, there is no real 50-50 out of a snake dash. A snake dash is basically, it exists to cause hesitation. And at that point, you basically employ your 50-50s. So, snake dash, whatever, full crouch down forward, forward 3. Snake dash, whatever, oh, this guy's an idiot, he's ducking. Snake dash, he's just standing there. Waning moon. That one hit on the side, so it wasn't a waning moon, but you'll get that on occasion as well. So, yeah, I noticed Manny Biggs in the chat. He said that snake dash adds evasion. That is true. However, I wouldn't use it for that purpose. You can't just be like, oh, let me evade some shit with snake dash. If you avoid something with snake dash, you know, hallelujah, you got lucky. But you can't really use it like, oh, let me use this tool like the way you use Hayashida step for Nina. It doesn't work that way. It's way too dangerous to use as an evasion tool. However, evasion is a side effect of it, so it will happen. But yeah, Snake Dash, a useful tool for this character. I would say Snake Dash is more useful for this character than it is for many others, like Dragunov. You know, Dragunov could do it too. Wang, not Wang, Fang, he could do it too, but it's not as useful for those characters. It's pretty good with Fang though, but for Dragunov, not as useful. But for Wang, really good for causing hesitation, moving around the opponent, and just doing, employing your mix-ups. Really good for that. Now, I'm going to start the throw section with Waning Moon because we were just talking about Crouch Dash, and I think Wang's throw game revolves around his Crouch Dash. So, basically you're spacing with this character. As I mentioned earlier, he's a good spacing character. I didn't mention what his primary range is, though, so I'll cover that right now before I move on. His best range is at the tip, just like where it whiffs, down forward 2. Right at the range where down forward 2 whiffs, that's where you want to stand. Because he can move out of range of a lot of the opponent's attacks, especially depending on what character you're playing against. He can make things whiff. And so if you're out of range of down forward 2, all the opponent needs to do is do anything. When you backdash, and down forward 2 will hit. So you're in this range, you're backdashing, you're spacing, and from this range, if they do anything, any input, even a down 1 or anything, it's going to move them close enough for you to backdash and down forward 2-1 for a launcher. Now, that's his primary range in my opinion, and another reason for that is, so from this range, you can at any point crouch dash in and do a Waning Moon. Now, that can appear to be telegraphed, and it is telegraphed, but using Waning Moon is not only for the purpose of throwing them with Waning Moon. So, Waning Moon is this throw, down forward, 2 plus 4. The reason this throw is so dangerous is because you get a free combo afterwards. That was absolutely guaranteed. If you do it correctly, there is nothing that they could do to get out of that. It's 100% a combo. And this is a weird combo because of the wall, but that's a fucked up combo, and it did 120 damage. You can do more damage than that. But 120 damage with red health is extremely good. So essentially, Waning Moon is the best throw in the game if you consider damage. It does the most damage of any throw that exists in this game. Now, your options on hit, it is a 1+2 break, and as I mentioned, you can do it from crouch dash. Your options on hit are dash in. I like to reduce this to only 2 or 3 options because there are some people that like to do lots of other stuff. Like you can do down 1+2. So this is also a combo. You can dash in and do down 1+2. However, I find that to be harder to do and less damage. So what I do is I do basically the best thing, which is down back 4-2. That's the best thing you could do. Now you see right there I missed it. In that scenario, if the opponent had thrown, they would have turned around. And let me see if I could show you guys this. I haven't used the practice mode in this game for a while, so let me try my best to show you how to do it. I don't even remember how to do it. Where do you go? Mode select, defensive training, CPU training, record. So if you do it wrong, let me try to do it wrong here. So that was wrong, I think. Let's see how you can escape from it. Oh, did I fuck it up? No, I didn't. Okay, so he's gonna try and do it to me. Damn, I did it right. Hold on, let's try again. Let's see if I can tag out. Nope, I did do it right. Try one more time. Oh, okay, I did it right there. So I didn't do a 100% combo. If you don't do it as a 100% combo and the opponent mashes on throw, they turn around without getting counter hit, as you saw right there, and they block the second hit. So there's no counter hit there. Even though that's a counter hit combo, there's no counter hit there. So throwing will allow the opponent to turn around and block the second hit of that. Now, if your opponent doesn't know that and they try to attack, like let's say they try a back turn down 1, counter hit's going to happen and you're going to get launched anyway. So it's not a smart idea to try to attack after you get Waning Moon. Now let's see. Moving on with Waning Moon. So as I mentioned, there's a few options. Holding down back, I noticed Manny Biggs asked that in the chat. Holding down back is also a bad idea because it doesn't turn you around fast enough to avoid this. The only 2 good options after Waning Moon hits, the only really good options that are going to not lose to the most options from Wang are raw tagging. Raw tagging is a good idea because you can do it from back turn and it can avoid a lot of stuff if you dash in. So a raw tag there would be good. Or throwing. Throwing is another option. Those are the least risky options as the opponent on what to do when you get hit by Waning Moon. But again, don't forget, if the opponent does it right, it's 100% a combo. I didn't do it right there, but there's nothing you could do out of it. You're basically praying that they do it wrong. See, that was a combo right there. And again, you can tag buffer the launcher. So it's really a great throw. Really dangerous. Now, let me show you the other options. So let's say you're in a scenario where you're going to kill the opponent. So Waning Moon hits, you're going to kill the opponent, and you don't want to risk doing down back 4-2 for a Waning Moon combo because it's so hard to do. What I like to do is, if there's no wall nearby, I like to do back 2 on 1+2. That's also 100% a combo. It does 64 damage. So let's say you have a really big lead, or let's say you're going to win the match. Or let's say the wall is spaced just right, so the last hit of back 2 on 1+2 is going to wall splat. In those cases, you want to use back 2 on 1+2 because it's easier to do and it'll wall splat and it'll kill the opponent if you need them to die. But otherwise, obviously, down back 4-2 is the best because, as I mentioned earlier, it's the most damage, it's tag bufferable, it's just as easy to do, I think, as down 1+2, but it's more damage, and overall, it's the best thing to do. Now, yeah, I noticed Ganzo oh sorry, what is this? Gans of Sorrow, I think that's his name, mentioned that you could do forward 2 on 1+2. I'm sorry, forward 4 1+2 2 also works, but I don't use that because I think you're overcomplicating the scenario. I think simple, as I said earlier, less is more with Wang. So simplifying it is better. The only 3 options I ever use for Wang are down back 4-2, back 2 on 1+2, and Death Fist. Now the reason I use Death Fist, and I'll show this to you right now. Let's see, what's the easiest way for me to show this? Wall position and reverse on right. Let's see if that works. Yeah. Okay. So let's say you Waning Moon the opponent to right around here, and then you want to hit them with that. So that's a great option if they're going to get wall splatted. But let's say you're right around here, and then you try to do the same thing. That happened right there. That situation where you hit the opponent with back 2 on 1+2, and they're touching the wall like that. That's a bad situation because they can at times turn around and it will not wall splat. So you don't want to use back 2 on 1+2 if the opponent is really close to the wall, like that. You don't want to use back 2 on 1+2. See, it happened right there. They can get out of that. So what you want to do if your opponent's back is near the wall, but it does not wall splat, is you want a Death Fist. Clean hit Death Fist does 56 or whatever that was, and you get a combo afterwards. Combo of choice. So, and it's 100% guaranteed. You know, so I like to do that for good wake-ups, but that's basically what I do. So basically, the 3 follow-ups that I use for Waning Moon are down back 4-2 into a raw tag, into a tag buffer. So down back 4-2 into tag buffered, whatever the hell you want. Or back 2 on 1+2 if they're far away from the wall but not quite on the wall, and in a situation where you need to kill because it's really easy. And I also use Death Fist. Now, there are, I see in the chat, everyone's got their opinion on what to use. But again, of all the options, these are the only 3 options I use. And that is for simplicity. I am a tournament player. I don't like to think about too much shit. So with this character, less is more in my opinion. And I just reduce the variables by picking one of those 3 options. And again, the third one is Death Fist for a wall splat. Now, another option you have is to do a back throw, but I find back throw to be a little harder, and it's less damage. So, you know, I don't know. I mean, it's actually, oh, I didn't know that. It's more damage, but I think as a wall hit, it might be less. I don't know. Regardless, it's harder to do, and it's not what I use. Back throw will wall splat, though, so you do get that shit from far away, too. So, it's something to remember. I personally don't try it in tournament. It seems like it's a little harder than what it's worth compared to a Death Fist. But yeah, it's an option. There are a lot of options. But I myself, back 2 on 1+2, down back 4-2, and Death Fist. Those are my personal options. So at this point, you've seen that this Waning Moon is extremely good. And as I mentioned earlier, I could take it off of a wall hit here. So as I mentioned earlier, position is backwards too. Okay, so I mentioned that you don't just want to do Waning Moon just to do Waning Moon. You also want to use it to open up his other throws. Now, people are not going to be ducking a crouch dash into Waning Moon. It's very, very hard to visually see that and duck. However, it's not that hard to see it and break 1+2. That's what a lot of people actually do. Over time, if you train them, even in a tournament match, if you train them to break 1+2 when you do a crouch dash, you can actually then train them, then hit them with crouch dash into crouch cancel into a regular throw. And that is really effective. You'll find that I throw people a lot with Wang in tournament, and that's because I did a crouch dash into crouch cancel into a throw, because I've trained them to see the crouch dash into any throw, and they're so scared of getting hit by a 120 damage combo like this that they are breaking 1+2 when they see a crouch dash, and then when you do a crouch dash into a regular throw, especially a 2 throw, they're going to be breaking 1+2. Doesn't matter how good the player is. It definitely is going to happen regardless. Like, I'll give you an example. Incognito is one of the best throw breakers we have in SoCal. right now. He's really good at it. But even he will fall to a crouch dash into a crouch canceled regular throw if you do it fast enough like that. Even he will fall for that because Waning Moon is so dangerous and you can't duck under it, so you have to break it. Breaking it 1+2 is extremely important, so it opens up your other throws essentially. His 1 throw and 2 throw both have similar wake ups. They both leave you with face up head towards wake ups. Both of them do regular throw damage. They don't interact with the walls in any way. So basically I'll go over some basic throw wake ups here. So if you hit with a 1 or a 2 throw, a good option is down 3. That's like your basic fundamental first option. The reason it's good is because it'll hit a grounded opponent, it'll hit a side rolling opponent, and it'll hit a quick rising opponent. I'm not sure if it hits back roll. I can test that really quick. Let's see if it does. Back quick roll. Let's see if they can back roll it. Yeah, so they can back roll it, and that's the way to beat that. But obviously, if the opponent is back rolling after a throw, I mean, you know, they're not doing so hot, you know. So essentially, your first tier of your lasagna is down 3 after a throw. Now, another tier of the lasagna is, let me turn back roll off real quick. So another tier of the lasagna is down back 2, 4, 1. I like to do that. If they're going to quick rise, that does a ton of damage. And it's relatively safe if they don't quick rise. Now, the reasoning for that is, and this is part of the reason why Wang's throws are so good, is because when you're on the ground in the face up head towards position, which is what they're in, they don't have access to any knockdown lows if you whiff. So let's say the opponent is not going to get up. They're just going to lay down. If they lay down here and you go for the quick rise punish, which is down back 2, 4, 1, and they don't quick rise, you're relatively safe here. All they could do is do a get up low or mid. The mid will knock down but do no damage. The low will not knock down, and there's no way for them to combo. So basically, this is a relatively safe setup. The down 3 into the next tier of lasagna when they get tired of getting hit by that, into down back 2, 4, 1, or if they're using a back roll, obviously you could just use back roll catch of your choice. You can even dash up and back throw them if they're back rolling. So, you know, his throws are really good. This works off of his 2 throw as well. So, you know, I mean, it's really good. It's really simple. It's really good, and you can use it off of 1 or 2 throw, which I like a lot. You don't have to think too much. You can also use down back 3 for side rolling if you want. You can use down 4, but basically those are the main ones I use. Another option though is forward 1+2. This move hits semi-grounded. If they move at all on the ground, it will hit, and it has a ton of range, so it's going to beat back roll. So this is also like the third layer. This is your third option. I should say this is my third option. This is not your third option. You may think something is better or worse, but in my opinion, those are your 3 options on wake ups for Wang. Your 3 main lasagna tools. So those are his basic throws. He doesn't have any other normal throws. He does have attack throws, which I'll talk about later. But let's talk about his side throws real quick. His left side throw is a wall splat move. It does interact with the wall. I don't think it combos off the wall, but it does give you extra damage. So just remember that. That will wall splat. I don't think it gives extra damage. Let's go double check. I mean, I don't think it gives a combo. Let's see. Yeah, no combo. A couple extra points damage. And of course, Wang has a really good wall game. I didn't mention it earlier in the character overview. Unfortunately, I'm jumping around a lot, but Wang's wall game is ruthless. I mean, it's by far his best attribute. And man, I gotta tell you, for Wang players out there, you have got to pick wall stages if you have the opportunity. I mean, if you don't get a wall stage, you're already missing out on like a huge chunk of this character. And if you do get a wall stage, you can breathe a sigh of relief because you can play the character at its fullest. His wall game is super fucked up. And again, I'll get into that later, but I didn't say that in the character overview, which you gotta cut me some slack. I'm doing this off the cuff. So, right side throw has a pretty cool animation. It sends them really far away, so you don't have many options for wake-ups. His back throw, again, does combo if it hits the wall. You can bound afterwards, and out in the open, it just sends them far away again. So his main throw tools as far as wake-ups go are Waning Moon, and then using Waning Moon out of Crouch Dash to set up his other throws, and his other throws have, the simple wake-ups that I mentioned earlier. I think before I move on, I want to take a break. So give me a couple minutes to have a cigarette and just stretch, and then I'll be back, and I will do some more move analysis with this character, and hopefully I can finish by today. But if not, I'll continue either tomorrow or on another day. But give me a couple minutes. I'll be right back, internet.